Pence said yesterday that, quote, "It is absolutely essential that we get our kids in the classroom for in-person learning," end quote. And that followed the Orange Apes announcement via Twitter, of course. I guess it was Twitter. I really don't care about that either. But the Orange Apes said that, quote, "We're very much going to put pressure on governors and everybody else to open the schools," end quote. And he followed up with a tweet threatening to cut off funding if schools remain closed. Now, in the bonus part of our program yesterday for our subscribers, I went over some of this. So if you are a subscriber and you've heard me talk about this is not a rerun tonight. This is not a best of. It's just that I talked about it on your portion, dear subscriber, of what you hear the Malloy podcast. But right now, we are live on Progressive Voices Network and whoever else carries us. Now, the people are advocating about the importance of in-person instruction for elementary, middle, and high school students are absolutely correct. Trump is correct by accident. He has no goddamn idea what he's talking about. And in that regard, neither does Pence. As far as Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education, what a total goddamn idiot she is. I wish she would go back to buying shit, and spending her billions that she inherited and married into. But screw those people. Here's the reality. The Orange Ape can't just set a timeline without committing to the necessary work to ensure the health and safety of students, teachers, and their families. And not just teachers and students, the custodial workers, the kitchen workers, everybody who is associated with a school, public school, high school, elementary, middle. It doesn't make any difference what their job is. These are frontline workers. These are people who are putting themselves out there, teachers, custodians, office staff, administration, who work inside a closed environment like a high school. Molly goes to a high school of 2,300 students. And while I feel, and she does too, that she desperately wants to get back into that environment, we both know, as most parents and most students know, that without some kind of guidance, without some kind of guidelines, without some kind of intercession on the part of the leadership of this country, to just say to everybody, go back to school, is a death sentence. For who? Maybe not necessarily for the students, but the ones that they're exposed to, or I should say the ones they expose to this hideous virus. Now, the single most important requirement, and this was in the Washington Post yesterday, single most important requirement for resuming in-person instruction, getting the kids back in school, is very simply suppressing the level of COVID-19 infections in the community. That's the most important requirement for resuming in-person instruction. It's also the most important requirement for suppressing this virus in the general population. Suppressing the level of COVID-19 infections in the community. How do you do that? Well, very simply, masks, hand washing, social distancing, no big indoor gatherings. I mean, how simple is that? And yet the Orange Ape and these cowardly pieces of walking shit that represent his inner circle of governance refuse to acknowledge these simple facts. It's unbelievable. Imagine if schools tried to open now in areas undergoing these massive surges. including places like Houston, Phoenix, and Miami. What would happen? Well, your imagination is a lot more expansive than my vocabulary, but let's try here. Groups of children gathering indoors would, I think we can all agree, make this situation worse. Make the crisis worse. And that's why back a couple of months ago, the White House's own guidelines prohibited schools from reopening until the community had reached so-called phase 2, and that was defined at minimum as recording a consistent decline in new infections, not a decline in deaths, not a decline in how many people went to ICU, not a decline in people who were intubated, a decline in new infections, period. What happened to that? What happened to that? Right now, more than 40 states. How many do we have? Have we got some that we haven't talked about? 10 or 15 states back there in the closet. We have 50 states. 40 of them, 80% of the states in this country have increasing cases, not declining, increasing. And yet the orange ape is threatening school administrators, school boards, school districts, and students. Now, if these governors, and it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, although the Republicans can just piss off as far as I'm concerned, but if these governors want to reverse this trend, increasing cases, then they'll need to impose restrictions, and they're going to have to make some trade-offs that are going to be difficult. For example, as the Post puts it, some businesses, such as bars and nightclubs, may need to stay closed for the summer to keep virus levels low enough for schools to be open in the fall. Wait, stop, pause. Bars and nightclubs have to stay closed for these rugrats to go to school in the fall? Oh, Jesus, you mean I can't go party? You mean I can't do a doobie and go to a club and wiggle my ass off and drink lots of booze and get all screwed up and go vomit in the alley just so these rugrats, these curtain climbers, these kids can go to school? Oh, come on. That's kind of the attitude with so many 20 and 30-somethings. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. You don't believe me? Take a look at the videos from the 4th of July weekend. Take a look at the videos from the clubs and the bars and the beaches and the circle jerks and the beer parties. Those are not high school kids. So the Orange Apes administration needs to support those actions of closing shit down rather than cast doubt on the severity of the current surge, which is what he's doing. I hate this man with a depth of hatred that is shocking even to me. There have been a number of politicians that really over the years have just turned my stomach. But this one? Oh my God. Now, there's another urgent step that's needed. It's way overdue. Every other country who has reduced the incidence of this pandemic, some down to the point of 0 new cases, have done this. And that's the capability to conduct contact tracing and regular surveillance of people who become infected. Now, there are some medical experts I've been hearing in the past week or two who say we are way beyond that point. We can't do it anymore because too many people are infected. I don't know. If there is a cluster of infections linked, for example, to a particular school, prompt action needs to be taken, including quarantining close contacts and even temporarily closing the school. Remember a million years ago, actually I think it was last year and the year before, when the clusters of measles infections started popping up because of these goddamn stupid ass anti-vax jerkwads? I'm not going to have my child get vaccinated. That causes brain damage. You sons of bitches. Remember that? Disneyland. In Southern California, Disneyland. Amusement parks. Boom. A center of an eruption of a viral infection like measles. So here we have something even more explosive. COVID-19. And if there is a cluster, say in high school X, and all of a sudden 10 students come down with coronavirus, then what is being recommended by people who still have a brain is close the school temporarily, but close it and track those 10 kids or 20 or 50 or 100, whatever the number is. Who did you come in contact with? Where were you last week? Where were you the week before? That takes work. That takes investment of time and, most important, money. But the Republicans in Congress, oh, no, they're not going to do that. Money? Sorry. This is another reason to suppress the level of virus in the community now. Here it is. Constant outbreaks will quickly overwhelm the public health infrastructure. That's what's going on now. What did I hear yesterday on the news? The hospital systems all around the country are reaching again, like it was back in February and March, maxed out capacity in their ICUs, in their emergency rooms, in where to put people, in their medical staffs. Here it comes again. We were warned about this. We were told this was going to happen, but we are dumb ass Americans. What the hell is wrong with us? We have no leadership. We have people with guns who show up and say, hey, we want the malls open. You know, my old lady can't go shopping. She's starting to get real hard to live with. Open the effing mall. That's where we live. I'm 27. I want to go party. That's where we live. Jesus God.
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to The Ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com. And never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.